Hi there, my name is Denise Eckert, and I'm from the Relaxation Lounge. And I love coming on here and sharing techniques and practices and ideas to lower the stress in your life because you know what? Stress is not good. And today I have Daphne Wells, and she helps midlife women feel safe, solid, and secure to share their magic with the world and make more money with ease and flow because money is always good too. Now, as your purpose and spiritual confidence alchemist, Daphne delivers insanely powerful insights that give you radical permission to show up in your power and fulfill your purpose in the world. Now, she has life-changing coaching, inner circles, energy readings, and forecasts. And her book, Decide, Choose Your Own Path. She's here to shake up your approach for business and life. And I love this part. When she's not inspiring women around the globe to make more money in the record time, you'll find Daphne creating magic with fabrics and threads, getting her hands dirty, growing what she eats, or frolicking in the waves. And I was just talking to her, oh, just frolicking in the waves. I can just feel that.
Thank you for having me, Denise. Lovely to be here. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah. So from Canada to New Zealand here.
New Zealand, from winter to summer.
Yeah. Now, what inspired you to do the work that you're doing, Daphne?
I used to live a very stress-filled life in abusive relationships, and I was continually burning out, like just hitting the wall and not being able to do anything, and looking for ways. I had this desire to help women, and always I knew I was here to help other people, and I didn't really know what that was about for a long time. And over the years it became more about, well, I got into this deep dark hole with stress and all of those other things, and had to claw my way out because, you know, a couple of decades ago we didn't have the internet like we do now, and help wasn't readily available where I lived. And so I thought, how could I help women? How could I provide the kind of help that I would have liked, right? And so over the years I've acquired the skills and realized that really this is my life purpose, and this is what I'm here to do, is to help other women, because we really do all have magical gifts inside of us that are our purpose in life.
Especially at our age, we've seen a lot, we've experienced a lot, and we have a lot to share.
We do, you know, and they label midlife, which is where we are, you know, and I class that as being 39 through to 65, generally in that age group. We will hit this wall and be like, we've learned all this stuff, we've grown, we've done all this stuff. Oftentimes our children are off our hands, so that, you know, what now?
Yeah.
And that's when we kind of turn to, well, what is my contribution to the world? What is my purpose? What is my gift in life? Oftentimes, I find that as women, we've been doing it for free forever. So when we can start to make money off it, we then don't have to go work the job to pay for our life. So we can therefore help more women.
Absolutely. Now, if someone came to you that was very stressed out, what are the steps that you would take that person through? Like, what are the techniques that you use in your life and in your practice?
A lot of it depends. It's unique to the individual, Denise, as you'll understand, depending on where they're at, what skills they have already. So with my numerology, one thing that really helps being stressed is to actually have an energy reading of who are you in this life, because it is in your numerology. And for a lot of women, that feels like they've really come home into their bodies and can actually own who they are rather than who the world has told them to be, which is what we end up being most times. Another really profound one that has come into my life in the last couple of years is mental fitness. And by that, I mean that we then we train our brain to respond positively more than negatively, and to learn to handle those stress moments. You know, stress, we feel stressed, and we can liken that to holding our fingers on the hot stove and realizing it's hot, and are we going to take them off, or are we going to do something about it? So one way that we can really do that is to get present in our body and get grounded. And I'll share this here on the call if that's okay, is
I
to
love that.
take two fingertips, your thumb and another finger, and rub them together. Close your eyes if you can, although, you can do this under the table in meetings with nobody realizing. And as you focus on that feeling of your two fingers rubbing together, you can actually feel the indentations of your fingerprint. And the more that you focus on that, you find that you become present in your body more, and the stress becomes not so powerful.
Yeah. I find just changing things up, just doing something else when you're stressed out. And this is so simple. And as you said, it's something, even if you're at a meeting and you're starting to get a little flustered, it just takes you back down that one step.
It does. And I love that one in particular because you can do it anywhere, eyes open. Even if you're driving somewhere and you're stressed, you can do it while you're stopped at the lights.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd want your eyes open so you know.
Yeah, exactly. So you talked about not switching over, but you talked about changing those negative thinking to a positive thinking. Can you talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, so our brains are wired so that they respond negatively first. And that's our fight, flight, and fright response, right? Fight, flight, and freeze response, right? And it goes right back to, saber-toothed tigers and having to keep ourselves safe, having to know which snake was poisonous and which wasn't, was more important than admiring the beautiful butterflies and flowers. So our brains are naturally wired to respond negatively more than positively. And when we can retrain our brain, because our brain is a muscle, right? So we go to the gym and we lift weights, we don't just do it once. We keep doing it. So with mental fitness, and that rubbing fingers together is one of the exercises, we actually rewire our brain so that we are more likely to respond positively than negatively to an event or a circumstance. And as we do that, it relieves the stress because we are looking for the gift and the opportunity rather than what could go wrong. We are choosing to respond rather than reacting.
And can you give us an example, please?
Okay. You could look at, I was driving into the city the other week. I heard this noise and thought, what on earth is that? Have I driven over something? And then was aware that my car wasn't driving really well. I was probably only on a stretch of road that I couldn't pull over on that was maybe 500, maybe 400 or 500 meters long. I got to the end of that and pulled over as soon as I could. I had blown my tire. No, I'm just not talking puncture. I'm talking tire blown. And, I was like, it'll make me late, all those things. And then this man came running along the other side of the road, and I'd noticed him, and he stopped and said, "Can I give you a hand?" So rather than me having to wait for the roadside service to arrive, he changed my tire for me. And then when I took it in to get it repaired a few days later, so like that was instead of getting really stressed, I chose to be like, okay, I'm just going to have to ring the roadside service and then ring the people I'm meeting and tell them I'm going to be late, rather than in years gone by, that would have like stressed me to the max, right? And then I saw the gift in it, and this man had offered to help me. So I didn't have to wait for someone to help me. And then there was another gift because I went to get the tire repaired. And the man said to me, "You were so lucky that you weren't on a 100K piece of highway." In other words, if I'd been going faster, it would have been an accident waiting to happen.
Wow.
So we really look for, and so there were so many, like I could have viewed that as, such a nuisance. I have to take my tire in and get it fixed. I have to go back and pick it up. I have to spend all this money. And I could have gone way down that track. And yet, yes, it's going to cost me money. And yet, I was safe. I was well taken care of, you know? So we do have choices in how we respond. And as I say, years ago, I would have gone straight down this. Oh, you know, how much is this going to cost? How long is this going to take? You know, all of that. And I chose to go the other way. And that was very natural for me, way more, you know, more so than it would have been, because I have been working on becoming more mentally fit. Positive intelligence, we hear about intellectual intelligence, we know about emotional intelligence. Positive intelligence is what this is, how you get to choose how you respond. So by increasing that, you are able to not feel the stress. So I didn't feel stressed in that situation, where years ago that would have been incredibly stressful.
Well, I've seen people on the side of the highway crying, you know, it's just, I mean, you know, and for you, yeah, it happened at, you know, it happened. It was going to happen at some point because there was an issue with the tire, but you're so lucky that it happened where it was someone walking by with the knowledge to help you, and that person had the time to help you. So there was a lot of positive things happening there in the background that you called in, you know. It wasn't, I find too, like if you start going, I'm going to be late, I'm going to do this, and you start stressing out, you bring in more stress as well.
Yeah, you do. You attract that. That's like the law of attraction, right? What you put out is what you receive. You know, and the man who changed the tire for me on the side of the road, I mean, he was late for wherever he was running to, late home to his family for dinner at that time of the night, you know, and yet he was relaxed enough that we had a really nice conversation while he was busy doing all the stuff that
Yeah.
I don't feel confident to do.
Nice. And it's nice that the Chevrolet is still out there, because, and you know what, for myself, I mean, I used to be a mechanic, and if I see someone, it doesn't matter, male or female, on the side of the road, I stop and help, you know. I'll take that extra minute, and I don't care if I'm going to be late, because I don't like seeing people on the side of the road.
Yeah. And I, like this man, I said to him, look, you know, are your wife and family going to be worried about you? Can I call them for you? And he's like, no, they'll be fine. You know, like, because, you know, and he did say, you know, my runs vary in lengths depending on how I feel. They're not expecting me home by a particular time. And, you know, it's just a really nice conversation we had, which was like, that was a gift as well, you know? So you can look for these gifts rather than, as I say, years ago, I would have looked for the really stressful things, as you said as well, you know?
Yeah. And now a lot of times, I mean, I'm going to go into sort of the next topic. A lot of times when you do pull in all that stress, you're almost self-sabotaging yourself. Now, with what your teachings are, how can you avoid that self-sabotage?
Well, how you can avoid taking the blame for it and feeling really guilty about it is part of the positive intelligence way of thinking, is that you don't actually self-sabotage. You have in that negative part of your brain a judge and 9 other saboteurs. So the judge, if you like, is like the circus master, who, you know, he will be the one who, oh, Daphne, why were you driving down that bit of the road at that time of the day and you blew your tire and ruddy, you know? And then the other saboteurs would have supported him in that, right? And for me, when I first started this work too, because we have been taught in our personal development industry and self-help that, you know, we self-sabotage, and it's like we take on a layer of guilt and blame and shame almost each time we feel like we've done that. This for me has been huge, and well, actually it's that bunch in that part of my brain that I can actually quieten down if I choose to.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's a 5-minute job. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying this work is really powerful. And they have found that within 6 weeks, of doing these practices that only take 15 minutes a day, they have done MRI scans that have shown rewiring of the brain. So your brain actually learns to fire in a new way.
And it's fun because, I mean, I know I've been doing this for a while now, a couple of years. And when something bad happens to me, I almost laugh at it. It's it doesn't upset me anymore. Like the other day, and it was one thing after another. You know how those things always come in threes. You drop this, you drop that. This is a mess. And I just, I think, and I just said to myself, this happened to me yesterday. I mean, I lost my keys. I dropped a box of salt. So now I have to clean up the stuff. And I knocked over a glass of water, all like within 5 minutes. And I turned around and I just thought to myself, you know what? I think the universe needs me to take a break.
Yeah.
So instead of getting upset and instead of getting angry or frustrated or stressed out, I just said to myself, I think the universe is telling me to take a break right now.
Listening to your intuition and really sensing that, what is that message? Because there is a message in those things,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, you could have gone down that really negative rabbit hole of blaming yourself and yeah, that whole not good enough thing that we women get caught up in often, don't we?
Yeah. I still haven't found my keys, but whatever.
Ah,
Oh, I know. I came to the
you wanna
door and I
know-
was missing part of my keys. So that was
ah.
okay.
So do you want to know, here's something magic? If you forget something and you need to remember it, if you put your hands like that, so you've got all of your fingertips matching, joining up, that is the shape and the size of our brain, relates to our hands. And what they have found is that by just being still, that the things that we've forgotten can just pop back in our heads. So, if you're in a conversation and you completely lose your train of thought, to do that reconnects the thoughts.
Wow. I'll have to try that next time. Awesome. So I understand you have written a book and it's Decide, Choose Your Own Path. Can you just talk about choosing your own path?
We each have our own path through life. And what I found for me was that anytime I made decisions, they were always second guessed, but they were always, criticized by other people, which meant I would second guess them. So then when we go through the process of choosing our own path, which means laying down really, you think about a path, you don't just pour your concrete all over a patch of lawn. You've got to create a foundation. You've got to create boundaries up the sides so that the concrete doesn't just spread everywhere. There's all of these pieces that go in. And so once you establish your foundation, which is made up of your purpose and vision, why you're doing what you're doing, your values, what's important to you, and your boundaries are what you will and won't accept in your life. And once you get those going, you can proceed a step at a time down your own path, feeling confident in your decisions because they're aligned with who you are.
Wonderful.
And that for me, that book was me. I started to write that because it was the process that I found I was taking lots of my clients through, and they'd come at it from different angles, and yet the process was the same. And so I wanted to make that accessible for people who didn't necessarily want to come and work with me or weren't able to for whatever reason. And so that was the purpose behind the book.
I love that. That's awesome. So I understand for the listeners here, you do have a free gift.
I do. So we talked a little bit about numerology before and how knowing yourself can reduce your stress and help you become more confident with who you are. And so what I have as a free gift is a way that you can discover your own birth code, because in that lies a lot about you. It's your personality. it's like taking a toe dip into that numerology reading that you could have with me privately. We would obviously go way deeper. This is a toe dip. And so that is a gift from Daphne.com.
Wonderful.
And you're very welcome to access that.
I'm going to try this out. So now we're going to be wrapping this up. So what words of wisdoms would you like the audience to go away with today?
I would really encourage the audience to find ways to really listen to your intuition, to trust your gut feelings, and to really trust yourself. And one way you can start to do that is by keeping the promises you make to yourself.
Such as, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to do self-care. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go frolic in the waves. I'm going to take care of myself. All the things that we do promise. And they seem to, I don't know, when we get busy and we're helping other people, our stuff goes right to the bottom.
Can be as just like I'm going to actually sit down in the sun and drink my coffee rather than gulping it down at the bench while I'm doing whatever, because how many times, as you say, do we as women put ourselves to the bottom? And really, it does go back to that oxygen mask on the airplanes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you can't breathe and look after yourself, then you actually can't look after anyone else either.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Daphne. I love talking to you. It was amazing information. So anybody listening, I will be putting all her contact information wherever you're listening or watching this. So thank you so much, Daphne. That was amazing.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. If you're looking for more ways to reduce the stress in your life, please visit www.therelaxationlounge.info. Here I've got access to a free Facebook page where you can get support, information on the podcast where I interview different individuals who share their techniques to help you reduce your stress, plus a membership that you can join where you can come and do stress-reducing practice on demand anytime you need to reduce the stress in your life and create more happiness in your world. I'll see you in the lounge.